This is D Stave, and this is Jess.
And this is Camilla Stavely Taylor.
And we are the Staves. So welcome back to D Stave. We thought we would do a special new episode on the new album, All Now.
Yeah, we kind of wanted to come back and update you on what's been going on and give you a complete overview of the upcoming album, which we're really excited about.
A lot has been going on since the last episode of D Stave, and a lot has happened since the last album by the Staves.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking a bit about how we've been and what's been going on and the new record. But the first thing we should talk about is to address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Or the Emily in the room, we should say. We decided that we would give you, the listeners, the inside scoop and the exclusive tell-all, no-holds-barred...
warts and all, expose.
Yeah, explosive reveal of what's been going on in Camp Staves. So the big question is...
where's Emily? Where's your sister? It used to be 3 of you and there's only 2 of you. What are you doing?
Why is only 2 of you in the new photos?
I don't like it. You look too serious. Why aren't you smiling?
Why aren't you... You look, if anything, you look miserable.
Yeah,
you
absolutely miserable.
Fucking miserable. And where's the other one? She was funny.
She was funny. She had great banter on stage, didn't she?
She did. She carried a lot of it.
She did a lot of heavy lifting,
Yeah,
Jess.
she did. The truth is, we haven't seen or heard from Emily since the last episode of D Stave in 2022.
Since the release of the last album, we have not seen hide nor hair of her.
That's not true. Emily has had her second baby, and she had the baby during the making of this record. So she has, she sat this one out.
Yeah.
And she's doing the mum thing, and she actually had her first child during the making of the last record, Good Woman.
I think that was strategically timed out of spite.
Terrible timing. Yeah, terrible timing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, she will not be touring with us. She is actually singing on a couple of the tunes on the album, though, isn't she?
Yeah.
But
which we'll talk about later on.
We will talk about it later on. But she won't be on the road with us. But I think, feel kind of compelled to kind of reassure everyone that we haven't had like a massive falling out or something.
Yeah, and she's okay.
Yeah, and she's happy, healthy and alive.
Yeah.
And I think especially in like a family band, there's always the fear that it's like, oh my God, this big like ruck has happened and one of them's effed off. Where really it's just like a very natural thing has happened where a kind of milestone in someone's life has occurred and they've gone and been a human by themselves.
Yeah, and I think, it's really important that people can be independent and do what they need to do and what they have to do. So, yeah, that is the end of the public service announcement, the info dump. We love Emily. She's great. She's not going to be touring with us. Job done. No more questions. Well, one thing I wanted to mention was that our niece Maggie, who is now 4, so this is Emily's eldest daughter. She's a really good tester for the new material because she reacts honestly. Yeah. And she basically just starts dancing if she likes the song. Yeah. And she's really taken to All Now. Mm-hmm. And she calls it the Biscuit Tin song. Yeah. Because the lyric in the first verse mentions a biscuit and a tin. Certainly does. You're welcome. Yeah. And obviously to her, that's what the song's about, which makes perfect sense when you're a kid. Yeah. If you latch onto one thing and like, don't really know what else. I know it's exciting. It's kind of a kid song in some ways, isn't it? Yeah, she likes saying exciting again and again. And Happy New Year. Yeah. Did you tell me the other day that you've got over 100 biscuit tins in your house? Oh, I feel like I come across as some mental hoarder or something. It's actually, to be fair, it's not that far from the truth. Do you find that you hang on to musical ideas for a long time? Yes. Like hoard them? I do too. And I looked through my phone recently at all my voice notes, and it's just like, you think, okay, well, I can't sort that out now. I'll get round to it. And then another year passes and you haven't. And there's like 15 million ideas.
And they're not relevant to you anymore, lots of them, or like...
But then you're like, maybe there's something in there that's actually amazing and I will need, so I don't want to just delete it.
But then do you find that sometimes that stops you from coming up with new things because you've got that like backlog or that like catalogue of bits and bobs in your...
I think it's that feeling of like, if you know you've got half a bag of rice at the back of your cupboard.
The
then
train leaves Paddington at 3:30.
And
Jessica
like
has a bag of rice.
A tin of tomatoes or something. You've got like, if all else fails, I've got the basics to make something easy for dinner. Something with some sustenance. So I think it comes from a fear of what if the cupboard is bare and then I can't start again.
Yeah, so you've got like a lexicon, would that be the right?
Rolodex, I don't know.
Yeah. Rolodex.
Biscuit tin full.
You've got a biscuit tin chock full
of
of
Fox's
ideas.
Assortment of song ideas. And I think if you think about each record and all the songs that end up on it and all the songs that led you to those songs and that didn't make it, and then you keep them and then you make another record, another record, another record. I think with this album, I think I didn't look back on anything actually. I think we took a minute to kind of get going with it all after the last record.
Oh my God, yeah. I certainly did.
Yeah.
I found it really hard to kick back into gear. And like, I think sometimes you can be quite paralysed thinking about, I suppose, wanting things to be really good and wanting to articulate things really well and do a really good job and make something that resonates with people, and to know that you've expressed yourself completely and you've said all you want to say. And I think wanting things to be really good can make you very afraid to try because you're worried about failing and you're worried about falling short of that, which is such a trap. Like it keeps you kind of frozen, and like ultimately it doesn't matter. Like you have to just do things. You have to just like keep those muscles moving and like making things, and being imperfect and imperfections and things like that are just what life is about. Like that's human. There's no point in I don't know if that makes sense, but
I think it's frustrating that you can intimidate yourself to the point where you kind of talk yourself out of even doing something. And we had that studio in Hackney that we go to every day, and I remember the days where you weren't there, I'd go in on my own, and like this quiet room felt like really loud.
Same.
What am I going to do? How do I just start writing a song out of nowhere? So nothing, haven't planned anything, and then this horrible feeling of like, should I have had loads of stuff planned before I came in? And then it just took a while.
A true musician if I can't
just start like riffing? And it did take a while to just kind of get into it and shake off that initial. I guess it's just like you haven't ridden a bike for ages and you're scared that, and you remember that you can and it will be fine.
But it can give you a complete kind of identity crisis, or just like, who even am I? What do I want to say? What do I want to... I don't know, it can have such a knock-on effect.
The thing that I sort of look back on most fondly, I think because it was the most recent thing that we did before we made the album, was when we went up to the Peak District and we rented this cottage and basically shut ourselves off and we sat in 2 separate rooms, shut the doors and just wrote all day, and then we'd meet up in the evening and just play each other what we'd written. And it was like, it's this thing called the 20 song challenge. I don't think we did 20 songs, but
no, I don't
you just
think
write all day, and the idea is you're not censoring yourself. You are letting anything come out, and you know
Even
that you
if
have
it's
to move
shit
on.
or
You've got to move on pretty quickly. And my friend Tim Rice-Oxley from Keene, Tim gave us the idea. Tim and Jessie Quinn had both done it when they were writing for the Mount Desolation records, and they said, I couldn't recommend it enough. And Tim had bought this book that was like the whole theory of it that I then bought, and I think I had the book for like years and years and years, and was like, yeah, one day I'll do it. And he said, like, it's really good. You should just do it. It's just one day, just do it. And I'm so glad that we did.
God, me too.
Because it was really helpful, and we got Great Wave out of it. Mm-hmm. Got Make a Decision.
Got the important one.
Yeah, and we wrote some other stuff that I think was cool. It kind of didn't quite fit in with what we were trying to do, but there was some. And it was, I mean, we sound like we're sitting here now being like, aren't we so great? We just wrote so many amazing songs. There were some really shit ones too, but it was like a really refreshing thing of like, I guess just like feeling confident that like stuff's kind of cooking now.
It's just really nice
we finally got to that spot.
To get into that state of like, I feel like it's a good just lesson in just like stop being so fucking scared. Just like more than just a lesson in songwriting, just like in general, on a broader scale, just like, just do it. You've had that book for ages, haven't done it. Like, why? Because ultimately you're scared. Like, just do it. You're not going to lose anything.
That was because I wanted to watch TV, I think.
Yeah.
Probably the
yeah.
Left alone to brace myself in the face of a great wave.
Great Wave was like an electric. I think I'd written it in 5/4 because I thought I should write a song in a different time signature from what I would normally go to. And ultimately, I don't think it really added anything to it, and it didn't really work. So it's not in 5/4, but that's how it began. And it was just like, okay, I'm in a minor chord. I'm doing a 5/4. What's going to happen next? And then before I knew it, I was just singing about a great wave, and that was the only lyric. And then the chorus kind of came, and then I think I played it to you, and we started talking about the great wave in Portugal, the wave that all the surfers go to.
Nazare? Nazare? I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but it's like, I remember talking about that, and that
because there'd been a very experienced surfer who had died on that wave.
Yeah,
so it was in the news, and I think it was just on my mind a lot. I'd been on holiday, and I'd been also like battered by the waves, not surfing, but just like trying to swim and just getting absolutely effed. And it was actually like pretty scary. It was like the feeling of the humbling feeling that the sea gives you and that nature gives you. And and then I think when we came to do it with John, and we should also mention who played on the album. So we had Max Hart, who played electric guitar, keys, bass, synth, pedal steel. He was a real all-rounder, and he was just so brilliant.
Legend.
And then on drums we had Tamir Barzilay, who was also just such a brilliant drummer, such a lovely guy. And we hadn't met or played with them before. And John was just like, I can find some people for you. So,
and like, these are the people.
Yeah, let's do it. And he found them. And they were just such amazing players. And we had quite a short period of time with them over in LA to do it all. It was really like 2 weeks with them. Even less, I think. It was with Tamir before he had to go.
Yeah.
And so it was just like everyone had to bring their A game every day because there was no time,
real quick,
and just make decisions and stick to them. And I think with Great Wave, I enjoyed recording that song so much because the demo that we'd got was just on my laptop, and it was just like guitar and vocals. And then we just kind of spoke about it quite a bit, I think, with John and the guys. And then it was like everyone was just totally on the same page. And the thing that I like about the recording of that song is that the instruments are really, really playing off the lyric of the song, and kind of echoing the feeling of a wave and the push and the pull and the ebb and the flow
and the kind of building and
the building and the drama. And then obviously the chorus is like the big crash. And yeah, it was just a really nice moment where it felt like we're all really listening to each other, and we're all really, you know, we're on the same page and we're all subscribed to this thing. And it was just, I think that was my favourite one to record when we did it.
Was it?
Yeah.
It's all now, isn't it exciting? Isn't it exciting? Isn't it exciting? Isn't it?
So would you like to talk about the title track of the album, Mills?
I bloody would, Jess. Yeah, title track, All Now. So started that in our little studio space that we had in Hackney, glittering Hackney. And it was I remember it was a day when you weren't in. I think I was feeling quite pissed off, quite frustrated.
Probably because I wasn't there.
I think because you weren't there. That was it. It's very destabilising for me. No, I think I had a real feeling that day of being frustrated at myself for having writer's block and for finding it difficult to kind of tap into certain things, but also thinking about like the ways in which we express ourselves. It's like you always have to live your life out loud or something, or prove, be really loud to cut through the noise, otherwise it doesn't penetrate and you can't make an impact, or people won't understand what you're saying if you're not being super in your face. And especially for women, of like, even though we've come so far, I was feeling pressured about that. I was also feeling like, it's just a very over-documented life that we have now.
Yeah.
Of like,
if you're having a great time, you should be sharing it with everyone.
And you should be showing everyone how great it is to be alive now.
I think when we were recording all the songs, All Now just became so clear that it was going to be the album title when we actually kind of sat down to do it. And yeah, I think it's a great sort of feeling of a beginning, the way that song sort of starts.
Yeah, I think it's felt like a natural opener for the album.
Okay,
what's next on the docket?
We should move on. So we're going to do these in the order that they appear on the album, which makes sense. I don't say it, but I feel it.
Homesick for a place that never existed.
I think my nostalgia, kind of triggered the idea for the song. And there's also the Welsh word hiraeth, which we really love, and it's about a feeling of homesickness, or
it's a very specific longing, isn't it?
I remember Mum, who was Welsh, telling us about that word, and I thought it was so cool, and we said we should write a song about hiraeth one day. And the line in the chorus about being homesick for a place that never existed, I think, was trying to kind of process the idea of living in the present but in the past, and actually what is kind of real, or what's a memory of something. And so I guess it was, I don't know, me trying to explain a part of myself or something in that song of soz that I don't say it, but I still have all the feels. You can quote me on that.
Soz, but I still have all the feels.
Soz didn't say it, still have all the feels.
What's the next one?
Fundamental Memory.
Called your number, called you home, tried to see you on my own, try to see that, try to hear.
That song actually began in the lockdown of 2020. I was playing my flatmate's piano and I kind of came up with the song that way, and then it just sat for a long time unfinished.
Festering.
And we did actually, most of the songs on the record we didn't really do demos for, we just sort of recorded acoustic guitar and vocals. But this one we actually ended up doing a couple of demos for it, and lo and behold, when we got to record it in the studio, it was one of the hardest ones to do because you're kind of unravelling all that work that you've already done to try and find a new way of entering into it with new people in the room. But it's one that I feel proud of. I feel like the work was necessary to kind of unlock the song and how it should be. And I think that it was one of the early songs that we worked on in those sessions with John and with Max and Tamir. And we all just sat down and I just kind of explained what the song was about. And it was about, in that weird moment of being cut off from the world, feeling completely sort of disorientated. And I kind of felt like a child again. And like I wanted my mum. Yeah. And I was still in the really early stages
it was earlier
of grieving mum as well, and just realising that, well, not only could I not have seen her anyway because of being locked up, locked in. It was like coming to terms with this new weird reality where I can't just call her.
Yeah, and trying to grab onto how, I suppose like how you can keep those people alive. That she's not here, but you are. I think about you all the time, and you're in my memory. So you still do exist. Like you're kind of immortal in that way if you're always in someone's.
They're your past, and therefore you're present, and they will be in your future too. Yeah, but just in a
fundamentally.
Yeah.
And you're falling back again to your old ways. And you're falling out again.
Make a Decision was written in a room in the countryside with a sheep looking at me through a window. Got literally surrounded by sheep one day, which was quite scary because they're quite hardy creatures.
They got a good stare on them, haven't they?
They do. They sadly didn't make it onto the track, and the song's not about them.
I thought you were just going to say they sadly didn't make it.
They probably didn't make it.
I imagine not.
I think that's the only reason they're alive, is to not be alive one day.
That's a real shame.
Anywho, that song was written in the songwriting kind of experiment that we were doing, and I literally wrote it in like a minute, and like not the whole thing, but the main bulk of it. And then was like, it's just a really poppy song and it'll be fun, and I'll play it to Millie and see if she likes it. And then you liked it. And then we were both like, is this a Staves song, or is this kind of got a different character to it? And I think it just kind of stayed with us, and it felt like this should be on the record, because even if it's got a slightly different feel from some of the other songs, which I think it does production wise, it still is saying a very truthful thing, and it's got, I think, a boldness to it, which is kind of what we were trying to go for.
Exactly. I think thematically it fits in, and I think it's one of my faves.
Max was playing the guitar at the end. I was like, do a guitar solo, like, do something at the end, like, and he was playing the stuff, and he was like, is it kind of too like John Hughes movie vibe? And we were like, yeah,
shut up,
keep going. And yeah, it's got a journey feel, but I mean, I don't know. I kind of like that it is very much its own thing.
Yeah.
And I think it fought its way on there, and it's staying. Do you want to talk about the echo, just to switch it up a bit?
Sure.
The star sign on the back page, the back seat, the slow train, the echo, the echo, the echo.
Yeah, so the echo is, I guess, one of the more intimate moments on the album, I suppose. And it's primarily acoustic, and when you started writing it, it felt very folky in its like melody and things, and it's quite like cyclical, which I'm always just in general a fan of.
Yeah.
In songs, and this one is kind of pretty out and out a dealing with grief
Yeah.
song, and I suppose that the persistence of it, the constance of it, and how it kind of keeps going, keeps repeating like an echo.
Whoa.
And
That why?
mind blown. Yeah, and just kind of all the weird times that, not weird times, but kind of mundane times where you think of this person that you've lost. I think because it was such a shock for us as well, we had very little time to kind of grow accustomed to her not being there because she wasn't ill. I think that sudden loss is really jarring, and things like being on the train and picking up one of the free newspapers and like reading her star sign, or seeing the star signs and like, oh, that was mum's, or just like these little things that kind of pop up, sprout up everywhere. That
They give you a jolt, don't they?
Yeah,
when
give you a
kind of doing
jolt.
okay, and then you remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that song, you could look at it lyrically as just about a breakup as well. You know, about someone that you miss.
Because I think it's
quite a universal
it's kind of
feeling.
the same principle, isn't it? Like loss is loss.
Yeah, I really loved recording this song because it wasn't too much of a challenge to unlock. It was just like we just kind of got the groove cooking.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually got a nice kind of laid back funk to it.
Oi, Jess, leave me alone.
Millie, I'll never leave you alone. Is the title of the next song we're going to talk about.
I'll never leave you alone. Oh, oh, oh. I'll never leave you alone.
I'll Never Leave You Alone. It is a song exploring the intricate parts and the many facets of selfhood and womanhood. The meaning of the song, I think, just sort of revealed itself as it was being written. I didn't sit down particularly thinking of anything specific that it was going to be about. I just kind of, I think, started with the chorus and the chords were just kind of in that zone, and then the first verse happened and it instantly kind of sort of set the character of the song, whereas these kind of
Like
to kind of play on
adages
words and
almost.
adages and
kind of messing around with them and being a bit playful.
It's I think one of my favourite songs on the record, and one that I'm really, really looking forward to playing live.
Yeah.
Hurry up, help me out. Don't know what to talk about. No one gets me like you. You're my hero.
So the next song is the beginning of side B, if you're listening to the vinyl of the record. So we spoke about nostalgia. I've mentioned my crippling nostalgia. And After School really is leaning into that, but in a really...
it's in a joyful way.
In a joyful way.
This one was really, really fun to record.
It was really fun to record. And I think, again, the demo was an acoustic guitar. And once we sort of started playing it with the band and then the piano went on it, it just completely transformed the identity of it.
Yeah, it changed a lot, didn't it?
And we kept looking at each other going, this is really different. Like, is this legal? Is this okay? And we kept just being like, we said to be bold. Let's just do it. And
like, does it sound too like happy or kind of shiny or something? We were like,
It is.
It's okay for us to have one song that's happy.
Yeah.
As the Staves.
Yeah. And the song is, it's a love song to Emily. We literally went to school together.
Yeah.
And she was the older kid at school and I just started school, and she was, she was our hero. We all did drama as kids in Watford at the Pump House Theatre Group.
Shout out.
And we would do, plays and musicals, and Emily was in these plays. And so I would have been like 4 when she was 8 playing Peter Pan or Annie. And in my head, she was on stage in the West End.
Yeah, I think I thought that she was like a celebrity.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, rose tinted. If we knew then what we knew now. But yeah, definite love song to Emmy.
How can I get it back? Who am I speaking to? What am I waiting for? Will you remember? How can I get it back?
So do you remember how Recognise began when we were doing those demos in the studio?
I always forget, and now you say it, I do remember now.
Because I remember when we started that song, the opening line was "Can You Bring Me Back to Life?" and we were like, this is the first song that we were writing of this new phase of new music. The original demo of that song was completely different from how it ended up. But I just remembered that, thinking about it.
Yeah, because it was there's
Had drums and everything, and
I
was
feel
like
there's it was very kind of orchestrated.
it was kind of like a Tudor song.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those ones, there's always a song that you've gone to town on, and in order for it to work, you have to just like completely reimagine it or strip it down to like nothing. So it's at its bare bones, and that's what we did with Recognise, and I think it took on a completely different mood once we'd done that.
Yeah.
And now I feel like it's kind of one of the ones that's most like special to me.
Yeah, and
album,
feels very of the moment of making that album. It didn't feel at all like something that we'd like dragged along with us.
No, and we did it live as well.
Yeah, and we did it like, cut it live with Max sat in the corner on piano trying to just play like really quietly because we were playing so quietly. But he was also kind of learning the song at the same time. And so there was this like real tension, I think, between all of us as when you're doing something live that's very, very...
real tension between us.
That's very delicate and could, a mistake could be very, very audible. But I think that it's also kind of what was really special about it, because we were all so focused and so sort of in the zone. And that song we got Emily to sing on. So she wasn't with us in LA when we made the record. She came to London when we got back. We wheeled her in to the studio to sing on that song, and it felt so special to have her involved in that, because not only to have her beautiful voice singing with us, but to spiritually have her be part of that song, because the song is really about reaching out into the abyss, I think, to try and understand, in relation to grief, sort of who you are anymore. Because one aspect of it is the person that's gone, but what's left is you, and you're trying to kind of remember literally which way's up and
exactly
what to do now.
To kind of recalibrate and know which way is up. And it's kind of about searching, isn't it? Searching for that equilibrium and among that kind of war zone,
Yeah, exactly.
So the next song is a song called So Gracefully.
Let me show you how good and bad it could be. Show you how good and bad it could be. Let me show you how good it could be.
I think this is maybe the only like love song I've ever written. It feels kind of unapologetically lovey, and I kind of, it's one of those ones that I feel like I want people to dance to, like couples to dance to. I keep like picturing a prom or something, you know, and you awkwardly dance with someone and you're kind of like hands on shoulders or hands on hips and kind of like swaying. And yeah, it's essentially a song just about that like glorious and infatuating feeling when you are falling in love with someone and you just want to tell them everything and you want to know everything about them, and those kind of things that I don't think ever change.
It makes me think of the end of Grease when the car takes off.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait,
I mean,
what?
Not musically, but kind of imagery.
That moment of like fantasy, and they sort of look back and wave, and when the song kind of launches and fades off at the end, it kind of makes you think of that.
Yeah, completely. Now from the sublime to the desolate, the cheek by jowl in the album, so gracefully, going straight to a song called The Important One.
Scratched yourself and snored at night, made me watch forensic files when my mother died.
Which was, it's kind of its opposite, really.
Yeah.
It's a very short song. What, like a minute long? Minute and a half, maybe?
Who's counting?
We don't know.
It is a short song.
And that was concocted in our Peak District Sheep Fest. And yeah, I think for me it was one of the positive things that came out of that, which was kind of, forcing yourself to just be really present and just say what's on your mind and not second guess. And it's, I guess like the things you remember of a really bad relationship.
I mean, I was blown away when I heard the song. I thought it was so powerful, and I don't think it took much of a conversation for us to establish that it just made the most sense for you to just record it on your own. It was just like, I'm not even needed on this. It doesn't need anything more. And it's the only song on the record like that. I think it's the only song we've ever done that it's just one of us.
Yeah, I suppose
you're playing the guitar and you're singing it, and
yeah, that's true.
I'm extremely happy about that. I think it's exactly how it should be.
Thank you so much, Jessie. Okay, last but not least, Jess, would you like to tell us about the song You Held It All?
You held it all inside. You held it all inside. You held it all inside. You held it all.
This is the closing track to the album. It was hard to position where this should go on the record. I think the way the song begins, kind of similar to All Now,
it kind of could have been an opener
with this synth intro before kind of everything else happens, and the voice kind of floating over it.
And it's kind of, there's a bit of tension there, which was kind of intentional.
Yeah, and it could have been an opener, but we also at one point thought it could have opened side 2 and been like a really strong kind of, this is the second half, maybe the second half of the album is going to be more like rocky or... But at the end, I think it felt like, I think this is a closer. Just kind of made sense.
I always think of this one as it's almost you like telling yourself off or telling some imaginary person off of just like, what do you expect if you're like, how are you going to be okay if you're constantly like holding all this stuff and not kind of letting it go or talking about it, or you are putting yourself through so much anguish and pain that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
The answer is just like, let it go.
I think with that sort of sentiment, that the song has, for me, it's really important to not make it like a woe is me or a soppy feeling. And I think
exactly.
I wanted it to feel, by the end, you've done like you've been examining and you've been kind of working out how it is you feel, and by the end it's like a resolute almost decision to take charge of it and to not feel,
and there being some kind of triumph in that resolution.
Yeah, and I think I like the fact that it ends on a kind of uplifting note.
Yeah,
the possibility that you know that you can change, and
and it feels fairly unified, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like what happens, I always love the thought of like what happens after an album when the last song finishes, like imagining like the rest of the story if it was to carry on. And I kind of feel with that one, my intention is the story is positive. It's ending on a positive note of like laying a path ahead for change and like growth.
Yeah.
And that is the new record.
That's the flipping album.
That is all now. Thank you to anyone who's gone on this journey with us, hearing us talk about these songs. We're so happy to be putting this record out, and I just feel very, very grateful at this point.
Yeah, and we're so looking forward to you guys hearing it, and just can't wait to get out on the road.
On the road again.
I just can't wait to get on the road again. Really can't wait to play all these fucking tunes to you guys. See you next time, you filthy animals.
You've been listening to D Stave with me, Jess.
And me, Camilla.
See you next time.